Hello Toastmasters. Dynamic leadership and changing trends. Under these episodes, today we are going to go over concept of team building and motivation. Team building and motivation is very important in leadership and project management. What is team building? It's not an inventory in the warehouse. When you are working on a project, you need resources. Resources are there doesn't mean you are building a team. Team needs to be come together and it goes to different forms like storming, forming, norming, and last is the performing. To get from storming to performing, there are various tools are applied, including motivation. That's our main topic. Now, team building and motivation, there are several articles are there. There are several theories are there about how to motivate and how to enhance the performance of the team. As usual, the rule is we will not go over the books. You will always refer them. We will do more real life experiences. Motivation is defined such that you have to create a unique environment so that your team will be able to operate at best. So they will be able to perform best. Those tools or techniques are defined as a motivation. Let's go to the ancient times. Motivation is not a new concept, so it is there since ancient times. Ancient times, the locality used to be like a clan based, and every person has a role in the hierarchy. And as long as you perform your role good, you will be rewarded, or you will have a stability, or you will have a peace. So motivation was mostly on reward basis. If you do something else, then probably you will be deserted or there will be punishments. So person will be always motivated to do best in the clan. Once society progressed, religions came into picture. Religion was a best motivator. We see several times people has gone beyond and above for the cause of religion. We know maximum wars or bloodshed happened in the name of religion everywhere in the world. But what I'm talking about is the good thing happened using the religion. For example, look at those missionaries. They reached to the people who were away from the society and they needed to be brought in and taught the modern lifestyle. Those people were not going to get anything from the church or any religious system, but they were doing it. They devoted their life. That was the motivation we are talking about, which was wonderful. And several examples we see religion had played role in a good way in the motivation. Religion is always good, but probably certain way it might not be used correctly, which we are not talking about. Religion was used for good purpose, and these are the examples. So several people came into the mainstream, which were away from the society, and without religious, if they were like a corporate employees, then that thing wouldn't have happened, or it would have costed so much. But through religion, they were motivated just to bring them for the message of peace or to the God, and that was the best thing. That was about religious motivation. Let's move further. What was the other motivations? There are several motivations all the time. If you go to the King Alexander, what was the motivation? Why he was traveling to the east? Because at the time, even he was not spreading any religion or anything, as we see. But he wanted to send the civilization, he wanted to spread the culture as well as explore the new world. So that was more as a motivation. Apart from that, they wanted to unite thing under one umbrella, and there were some other forces were there. So different things were there, but motivation was always there, and that motivation took his forces through very difficult atmosphere, difficult terrain, and they win the wars. So motivation was very important. Now I'm going to tell you some examples about the motivation. We know that Pacific Ocean was discovered by the Magellan, probably in the 15th century. But which is not true. We know that all those small islands in the Pacific were inhabited when they found it. Now, if you see those locations of the Oceania or Micronesia, whatever they call, those islands are so spread out. How those people went there at ancient time, because there were no navigation techniques. If some people have a theory that they were swept by the current, by the storm, and they reached there, good luck. That should not be, because nobody can go that way to all those islands. Those islands were totally away from each other. There were no communication, only star, moons, and the current and the wind. Those were the navigations. Now we know everybody started from the Ethiopian corridor and spread everywhere. The land mass, as we know today, was there since the humanity. So land, like all the continents are exactly the place where they are. Like there may be some drifts here and there, but not drastically. So those islands are in the deep Pacific. So somebody has to navigate there from a land which was like, we can say the East Asia or Southeast Asia, for example, or probably north side. Why somebody will travel like that, or why somebody will navigate? What was the motivation? Because initially, hunter-gatherer society will have food stability. That was the motivation to travel everywhere. Now, if even we consider there were fights and the wars between the clans, but still there was enough land inland, they did not have to go to the ocean to go to those islands. So what could be the motivation? That's what we are talking about. What I think is they had a motivation. They went on purpose. They were not swept away. Why? They may be trying to find the God. They wanted to find the new land. They wanted to find gold. The way we are doing now, we are going to the space. We are trying to find a new civilization where the current society will sustain. Same thing. So those were the earliest navigators, admirals, and look at those motivation. So that's the example I wanted to give. All right, let's move further. In terms of motivation from the history, I wanted to give another examples. Those are my favorites. If you go to the east, there was somebody from the nomadic society called Temujin or Genghis Khan, we know about, who established the biggest empire at that time. And even today's thing, if you see, it was very big. How did that happen? Because King Alexander was a king, our prince. So there was some motivation, and there are lots of thought process when he moved to the east and win those kingdoms or the regions. What was the motivation for Temujin? That society was nomadic, we understand. So main motivation was to find stable sources of food and shelter. Those were the main thing, because they were always be moving based upon the pasture land and availability of the cattle and everything. Now, if you see the entire land he won, there were many places those things were available. His army and he could have got, okay, everything they were looking for is available here. So there is a fertile land is there, good resources are there, water is available. Why I'm saying this? Because how did the army move from one such place to another? Because that time army should have said that, okay, we got whatever we want. Why we are moving further? Because they were not spreading any religion, they were not spreading any faith. And if they were looking for something like stability of the resources, then they would have gotten something in between. But still they kept on going. That was the motivation. That was the leadership. The leadership induced the motivation in them. Literally, electromotive force, how it get induced in the magnetic environment when the coils spins, the same thing. The leadership of his was inducing those motivation. That was the great example of the motivation. Let's move further. After that, another my favorite personality, our admiral of the space, admiral of the ocean. He found us a stable route to the new world. We know that route was already discovered by something, but that was the commercial route was established in the 15th century. Who was motivating him? If you try to study what was making Columbus to think there is a land on the west, I mean, if he has to travel west to go to east, how did that happen? Because Earth was round, that was a university scholar concept, even that was there for 2000 years. But nobody traveled that way because those only scholars were thinking. The sailors or navigators, they were not thinking that way. So there was required a great motivator to start that. How that motivation come, probably there are multiple theories are there, but I just wanted to point that, okay, that was the motivation. And let's say it was a self-driven, because we know history, he traveled only in the Mediterranean. He had voyages only in the Mediterranean. So how he was talking that firmly and that confidently that there is a route to west, there is a route to east by going towards west. So how he was telling that, probably the self-motivation and certain theories, what he has come in contact with certain kind of people, which we don't know or not very, those things are not much famous. But I just want to point out that was the great motivation. And so great discoveries come through the great motivations. Going forward, we saw the scientists, great scientists like Galileo or Copernicus, they were literally tortured by the institution at that time for whatever they were doing. So there was no incentive for finding out what they were doing, but still they were motivated to find it or do the research what they were looking for. So that was the great motivation, and it helped the humanity so great. If you understand, they could have been demotivated by anything. At that time, everything, society, religious institution, everybody was against whatever they were talking about. But still they kept motivated themselves. So most probably that was a self-driven motivation, what they believed about, and when they think which is correct, and that was such a great discovery came out of that. After that, let's come to the modern times. So once the industrial revolution started, it came into modern times. We discussed earlier societies were self-motivated or self-disciplined and not many theories were required. But when the industrial revolution happened, people had more choices to get different jobs or they could develop their skills. Earlier skills were like a clan-based, mostly whatever your ancestors were doing, you will be doing the same thing everywhere in the world. But when the industrial revolution started, people need to learn new skills, and that was required to run the production. At that time, the class difference came. So the industrialists were probably not thinking about the workers, and there was a class difference came. And people were exploited rather than motivated to do work. So we heard those stories that the condition of the workers and everything, and That was the demotivation factor, and that led to the theory of the communist agenda. So going into the communism is not a theory of this, but how we are talking about only in terms of the motivation. So earlier there was not motivation, rather exploitation. And so even we see Michelangelo, who was the colleague of Karl Marx, he created certain societies which will be extreme, lots of welfare program for the workers and make them motivated to do work. And so the class difference at that time, that was the point where the modern motivation theories came, or team building theories came. So he built societies for the workers and several welfare things which will make them motivated to produce the more production. Now, since modern times is divided between communism and the capitalism, so it is inevitable I have to speak few words about it, but I will be more focused upon the motivation way. So communist theory is suggested as egalitarianism, or that's probably not the exact case. All the welfare and social causes will be handled by the state, and so that workers will have enough motivation to work. That was probably the high level theory about the motivation in that environment. But we understand that did not went through that well, because our Lord, our God has created as many people, those many personalities. Even you or your twin brother, identical twin brother, may not have the same skills. They will grow differently. You can good in singing and he could good in dancing, or vice versa. So if you are equated same way, probably that was the greatest demotivation rather than motivation, which we saw that the athletes and everybody was trying to go away from the communism, because they were thinking that the other side, the athletes have more facilities, but in their environment, they will be treated equally as others. And that was not really motivating it, rather other way around. So that was the only thing I want to talk about. So capitalism will have its own problem, and we are not going there, but that was a more motivational theories are coming from it. So that's what I'm going to point out. So let's go where. Suppose you are a person and you have an idea. How you will implement it? The example given is Elon Musk. He was a normal person. He did not have a fortune came through from his family or somewhere. He was a normal person, and he had a vision of traveling into the space or creating some private agencies to send the rockets, because earlier only NASA used to do it. So if that idea is there, how it will get conceived? Because you need a capital, because you cannot play with rockets with your ideas and you cannot prove it. So if you are able to sell your ideas to investors, they can provide you the capital, then the ideas can go up. And that is what we saw. We saw the Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, all those ideas came and then they went up. So unless there's a capital, state is not going to fund this, as we can understand, anywhere, nowhere. If you have certain kind of ideas, nobody will expect that state will fund your ideas, and then which is not proved. But investor can do it, because they will putting in faith in you if they understand it correctly. So you have to go through that system. So that was the greatest motivator, because if you see there are, suppose 1 million people are there are not 1 million ideas will come. Ideas will come from few people only of that nature. The ideas which change the world or society certain way, those ideas come from only few people. If you give 1 million people and train them similar way, you will not get 1 million ideas. Rather, only 10 people may have the ideas, and that will change life for the 10 millions of people. So that was exactly the thing. So those people got the motivation, and they will create a society and motivate the others to work for it or enhance the ideas. So initial comes, then we enhance it. And so the modern societies or modern way of market-driven societies has helped the motivation theory a lot. So that was main thing I wanted to mention about. How we get motivated by looking at the people around us, that they are such a great ideas and that motivates you. Not always, because those people are getting motivated, they are not going through the theories like theory X, theory Y, Maslow's theory, self-actualization, all those theories, they are not going through it. They look at the examples, real life examples, and they get motivated. So the leadership and ideas around us, that's the greatest motivation factor which people take. Now let's look at the actual project examples or modern theories. So how they have been motivated. Apart from theories, so I wanted to explain more other than that, what is in the book. So those theories of motivation and team building are always there. But how you do the team building and motivation other than that? I want to give examples of Jack Welch. So straight from the guts, that's his book, how he did it. At that time, GE, the greatest and oldest company, was like reeling and was really bottom portion. He came through. He created lots of good statistical ways, management ways, as well as community practices. So he motivated his workers to go to the communities and work for them. That helped to sell the brand, as well as people got the motivation that they are doing such a great cause, and that brought up the organization, came up to the front as we see it. So I wanted to point out the fact that the community practices what Jack Welch started, because we see those are the motivating it, and it was not in their job. It was not part of their job or thing that they go to the societies and do the community practices or help them or involve in them. But that was the motivation, that without anything they were doing it, and that helped the brand business. So that was the another greatest example I wanted to give. So which is apart from your theory X, theory Y, or self-actualization. Okay, so now let's come to the theories. So there are theory X, theory Y, and like you have the basic needs fulfilled and that motivates you, or if you have self-actualization, then that motivates you. Absolutely correct. There is no question about that. But now I'm going to take certain examples, so we want to talk about it. Most of the time in modern times, if you talk about self-actualization, I want to take my example. I would like to listen songs. Like I have a big day, and then at the end, I will reduce my stress by listening song, or I will play the guitar. So that gives me self-actualization. Point is, whatever work you do, not always give you the self-actualization, something else. That is like your hobby. So your hobby is giving you self-actualization. Whatever work we do, most of the time, if you survey most of the people, they would like something else than what they're doing. You will find that. If you give them the work A, they will think that actually work B is better, or the role B is better. That's always happens. So it might not give the self-actualization anytime. That's like a real life example. Certain people will find happiness and they are self-motivated no matter what you give. We are not talking about them. So they are already motivated about themselves. They have self inner drive, and they will do any whatever is needed to get themselves motivated, irrespective of things around them. So we are good with them. Certain people will never be happy or never be self-actualized. No matter what, there will be something else will happen, and we see the attrition happens everywhere. I want to elaborate this point. Take example of modern day Google or Apple. Now let's go pre-COVID, like in 2020, because if you see their campus, Google campus or Apple campus, so many facilities, you will feel like working there. Just go there. Wow, what a environment, what are the facility, what are the perks? Beautiful. I want to work for it. Nowadays, people work from home, so that's why I say pre-COVID. But if you see, I mean, best in the industry, but still the attrition is not different, people still change. So that beats the theory that if you give the theory X, theory Y are basics and then self-actualization, because under this environment, anybody should be self-actualized. If you like the IT work or development work, then whatever the environment is provided, you should be happy or self-actualized or try to be self-actualized. But still we see the attrition happens. So that means certain people will be always have something else, or they will be, I mean, they might not be happy with something. So let's not talk about that. So what I'm going to concentrate on, somebody in it, they are in it, and we want to motivate them so that they will do the best, that comes out the best. So that's the team is there with you, and you want to get best out of them. How we can do that? So that's what I will talk about. So we always understand expectation never ends, or person will always think something is better than this. Grass is greener on the other side. That's the idiom they say. So if you want to talk about it, that's the human nature. Grass is greener on the other side. So something is there will be like, if you are doing this, then they like this, or if you there, then you like that. So how you will motivate it? So team building is the greatest challenge in the modern times because of that. There are several ways are there. It's not we are inventing anything here. So there are perks and motivation theories are there. They will be offered perks to do certain things, and there are certain programs are there to do the great work, and they will acknowledge you for the great work. So that exactly all those things are there. So what else we can do about it to make you self-actualization? So this is what I wanted to propose or want to discuss for the modern theories or modern team buildings. So currently, if you see, there will be always structure. So probably the project manager, and then the tech team will be there, then the analyst team will be there, QA team will be there, and then delivery team will be there. So those will be those are the different things, and then there will be they will be arranged. So what we can motivate each and everything is they are respected. So everybody is respected. That gives a greatest motivation. Apart from that, what we wanted to do is value-based respect, value-based acknowledgement. So even in modern times, what we see is like always people think that, okay, grass is greener on the side, and I was not able to do, or this is good here and I was not able to do. So what we wanted to propose is the value based. So if you are whatever the value is added, and it's not a hierarchy, it will be the value added thing. So this concept is not new. We know that there is a president will be considered as a servant leadership, or prime not prime minister. He will consider himself as a prime servant. So it is all are the positions, and everybody is working for it. So each one has its role and they are fulfilling it, and we can change the roles, and everybody has the value based thing which they will be acknowledged about, and all the points and everything will be based upon that. So that will give a greatest motivation. So value based thing will be what I would like to propose in the modern times. Apart from that, all other theories are definitely, I mean, they are there, and they had it has its own applications, what we know about, and they do work. So we have to get the self-actualization. That is the theory. But lots of time people, if you talk to them, they don't know what the goals are. So we can, if they have been discussed, then we understand what are the goals, or what are we trying to achieve, or what we are trying to, how we can achieve, and all these things. So that gives the greatest motivation, and those are the best team building efforts. So if you are building a team, then we cannot say there is an inventory or there is a warehouse and then go and choose. It's not like that. So when we choose the team and we build it, and then we motivate it to get it the best outcome and best results, that's the modern concept. And that was the important topic in the project management and leadership. So I wanted to discuss more about it. As we talk, we did not go into the books, and those theories are, or whatever theories, motivation theories, and other things are there which we can always refer about. But if you see the points we discussed, like personal level motivations or religious motivations or community practices, uh, people ready to go above and beyond if they are correctly motivated. That theories has we can clearly see. So if you are doing certain great things, then people are not really looking for anything come out of it. Rather, they will be very happy that they are doing something great and good, and that gives them the greatest actualization, and that helps to build a team. So those are the points we wanted to highlight uh, in this episode. Uh, I hope you liked it. Please do let me know your opinions. As always, your comments are will be very helpful. And see you in the next episode. Thank you very much and have a great day.